Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally here. The Fan Fusion Podcast. Your host, JC, also JC the God, with my co-host, Merrick Henry. As you know,
what a day it is.
We're here. You know, we've been talking about this all year. A podcast that we really been passionate about really sitting down and just kind of shooting, like just talking pop culture, comics, gaming, Marvel, DC, just a mix of everything. We're just gonna really today talk about just a bunch of different things, a couple different topics, things about we've been doing the past year, things that have been going on in the pop culture, world as in the last couple of years.
There's a lot that we've kind of missed out on.
Yeah.
We used to do a podcast talk show, Twitch live stream through the Coffee Network, the Nights of the Dirty Table. Mm-hmm. But after a while, there just wasn't enough to talk about. Not even just from COVID, because we had so much content, but just so many things just dried up. There were so many franchises and IPs just trying to figure out what it is they want to do. So now that everyone's kind of got their ducks in a row, we're sort of playing catch up here with this first episode that we're doing of the Fan Fusion Podcast.
Yeah, so you could say this is the pilot. It's the the season 1, the pilot episode of just us. Kind of just seeing what our true passions are besides the music, but the things that we grew up on and just things that are going on that really caught our eye, caught our ear, things that inspired us, things that kind of like made us feel like, okay, maybe there's hope for this, scene or for this film or, just a bunch of things we've been loving, man. It's just,
and with this pilot, we are figuring out how to take off.
That's what we're doing. So we're freestyling it. We're just trying to have fun. We're not trying to force it. We're just trying to really just show people that, people that love, pop culture, man, that we're here. We're here to, shock the world, bro. That's it.
All right. So let me ask you this. You were so excited to get this show going with me so that we had this place to talk about all the things that we love.
We're at Canvas. We're here.
What is the first thing that you want to hit on for this first episode of the Fan Fusion Podcast?
Okay, I want to hit mainly, let's talk about the MCU. Let's talk about, everything.
A lot to talk about again with the MCU.
Yeah, definitely post, Endgame, just that phase that we've been in where it's a phase that things shifted. Where after a big lead up to, two of the most iconic movies in superhero history, but more or less, everything that happened after, the movies we got, the shows we got, what hit, what missed, more or less like where it's going. And we obviously know where it's going, but I want to know what's your thoughts on the things that happened in between to now,
Do you think more things missed than hit?
Yeah, I think so. I think what it was such a, the multiverse saga was a saga that, I feel like was rushed. I mean, even into like the Infinity Saga, I feel like there was so much good films that led up to that. But even with like the shows and everything that they've been doing on Disney Plus, I feel, there's been a lot of good things, but there's been things that kind of like led to nowhere. I do feel that going into the next year, we know that a lot of our focus on Spider-Man, and that's been, the face of Marvel, post Iron Man dying. And I feel like right now the way they're going onto Doomsday, and we know the Secret Wars are coming. We know what's gonna happen, what we're expecting. We know that we're leading into the Mutant Saga right now, where things are gonna change drastically.
It's an exciting time, but it's also somewhat questionable. I would say present day, as we're filming and recording this episode, I think Disney is very lucky that Sony has pushed ahead on Spider-Man 4 to have something in between Fantastic Four and Avengers Doomsday. Because otherwise, this is a year and a half that we don't have anything. This is after Avengers Doomsday got pushed back by like 6 months. Whether or not it's reshoots, whether or not it's on-set drama, I'm not necessarily going to live in speculating that. The fact is, they had to push it back. So it's a year and a half of not having a Disney Marvel Studios film. All we have in between is Sony Spider-Man.
Right.
I think Disney's very lucky that they have that as the in-between, aside from, some of the shows.
Right, that saved them.
They have and stuff.
That has saved them, that has really, Tom Holland has really been, somebody that's really held it together. It was like the glue, like even from like the beginning.
He cares so much about the world, the characters. It's a great actor to have representing your franchise, because not every franchise has that kind of leading actor.
No, and it's like even right now with like, even the animated stuff, like into Spideyverse, that's something that we'll definitely see Miles down the line into in a live action, will be after Secret Wars more than likely. Just the fact that we know that we're going into a mutant saga, but we went from having a couple shows a year, a couple movies a year, to maybe having one show a year to like maybe two films a year.
There was one point somewhere in 2020 and 2021, whenever WandaVision started, pretty much there was about 2 straight years. Every week there was something new with Marvel, whether it was an episode of television dropping or a film and the press. Personally, I understand that was very overwhelming for people. I loved it. It fit very much into my schedule where I could be up at 3:30 when an episode dropped.
Right.
And I was rocking. I was happy. But I understand that that's a lot for people to keep up with. So it was a lot of content for people to consume. Some of it a little messy. Personally, I feel that there's been more, if not hits, because I know it's been touch and go for a lot of people. I think there's been a lot of quality product, even if there are some things where people didn't quite vibe with it as much across the TV shows and across the films. I have 2 very specific things in the recent MCU that stick out to me as this didn't work. I would say Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, because it was not really an Ant-Man film. I do think Jonathan Majors was great as Kang the Conqueror.
I think so.
Obviously, everything went down with that. That's a whole topic of discussion.
It's unfortunate, and we clearly see that him losing that role did have to shape the future for what they had planned. And I mean, hey, maybe it was for the better, but I feel like for the longest,
maybe for the better, but I don't buy that they had thought about bringing in Doctor Doom before everything that happened.
I don't think so.
If you can hear and see the sirens behind us, don't mind us. We are in beautiful downtown Fitchburg.
It's Fitchburg, People are driving down Main Street.
Tis the city season.
Right. I feel I feel like Doom maybe was gonna come down the line, maybe not so soon. I think Jonathan Majors is an amazing actor. I think that role of him as King was good. I was looking forward to seeing all these Kings just, I don't know, just go crazy. After the Loki stuff, and I feel like now, us getting Robert Downey Jr. back as Doom is kind of like, we wanted I feel like we were ready for like the next chapter. We didn't want to resurrect these actors. We wanted to kind of just start new.
I think Marvel wanted that too, and I think they came under the surprise that people were really attached to the characters under the masks and helmets, not just the mantles.
Exactly.
They felt like their story watching ended when Tony's life ended, when Captain America's story ended, when Black Widow was kind of forced into her story ending. I won't disagree with that point. I understand there needed to be some sacrifice to put things together. Also, you had a film coming up with her at the time, so it would have fit and made sense. But maybe that was, in retrospect, a little bit of a poor judgment taste, even though I still think Endgame is the greatest film of all time. And no one will knock me off my rocker for that one. Someone brought up an interesting point. I saw something online where what they felt audiences took in from Kang after seeing Ant-Man 3 was, if Kang is supposed to be this big bad, but he gets defeated at the end of this film, what are the stakes for the other Kangs that you're seeing in the other franchises?
Right.
Now, I think for a general audience, that makes sense. For guys like us who are excited about the possibilities of the multiverse and seeing an army of powerful, intelligent Kangs, you saw that Council of Kangs at the end of Ant-Man 3, we were excited for the possibilities of the character. If you're an actor, you have the opportunity to play this one role in all of these different ways. My God, that's an actor's dream.
Yeah,
I had every reason to be excited for that.
It is.
But I see how that kind of gets lost to the general audience. And that's on its own. That's separate from Ant-Man 3 not feeling like an Ant-Man movie.
Right.
You could have put in any other character, and it still would have.
And it was gonna work. Like, honestly, I feel like
it would have been the same story.
Even with Shang-Chi, we knew that this Shang-Chi post-credit scene was one of those things. Like, we knew that tied into Ant-Man. Like, we knew, like, when we watched these movies, as excited as we are for these movies, like, we know that, like, this movie is amazing. What's up the post-credit? Because we always were itching for more. We know there's something else, or there will be an Easter egg, or there'll be something even funny, just to kind of, like, make you feel like, okay, this is the future of like what's happening next, and we'll get that. You will see Spider-Man in this movie.
Sometimes,
so it's
sometimes
like
the actors go see the film and they see this character will be back in next film, and they're like, oh, I didn't know.
right. And
I believe it when they say it.
It's unfortunate, but I mean, for the future of Marvel now, I mean, right now, they took a hiatus, kind of like with the Star Wars universe. I think they kind of had to take a step back and go to the drawing board, and I feel like they are kind of pushing to end that multiverse saga. I mean, for them to do the Doomsday, and Secret Wars, I mean,
I do think they're working towards a soft-ish reboot, not an entire universe-shattering thing. I think the biggest thing, like if the reports are true that they want to use Secret Wars as a soft reset for things and kind of tuck aside the things that people didn't care for, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is Secret Invasion. I do think that was the weakest product out of everything.
Yeah, man.
One cool thing about being back on the pod and having this thing, this space where we can talk about this stuff. I've always wanted to at least give the small bit of flowers to Secret Invasion to say, I loved the bits with Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury and just getting more backstory for him. That's where the show is, I think, good and of quality. Everything else related to the Skrulls and stuff, this should not have been a TV show plot. This could have been a saga. This could have been a phase.
Right.
So I think there was a bit of a miss on that. So those are the two weak points, I think. Everything else is either between mid or really good. Shang-Chi I really enjoyed.
Shang-Chi was incredible. And cinematically, I think it was incredible.
One of those characters where it is a little annoying that we have not gotten any reports of a sequel. Obviously, he's coming back in Doomsday. That's reported. Doomsday is a really good opportunity to bring back all these other characters that haven't had continuing stories, like characters from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the Shang-Chi characters. And that's unrelated to the X-Men side of things, and we can deep dive down to the X-Men stuff in just a sec.
I think Wakanda Forever was definitely like very slept on too. Cause that movie was great.
That was so beautiful.
That was a great tribute. Like I think it was an all-around great movie.
I don't understand how that
soundtrack was amazing. The tones, Namor was great. Like I think he was.
That film doesn't get glossed over if Angela Bassett wins the Oscar.
Yeah, no, Namor too. Like they did so good in that movie. Like even with like. I don't know, man. But even touching back on like the Secret Invasion stuff, like seeing like the amount of people that were Skrulls that were just taken and put away captive, like makes you think too, like who else
Which
was
is the
out
point
Skrull
of the story. Like, yeah, it sucks that Rhodey is a Skrull after all this time, but that's the point of the story. It's supposed to mess with you. It's supposed to ruin other moments.
Right.
But to not have anything from that since... And they made it that way because, people didn't care for the show, so they felt like people don't care about the concept, and that's not true. But we can still utilize that concept. It would be nice to use that at some point down the line because that is such a key, interesting story that's been done really well, not just in comic book form, but in television form as well with the Avengers animated series.
Right.
They nailed the Skrull bit. When that was airing live, I was on the edge of my seat every week on Disney XD because that stuff was so good. So the story obviously works.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, overall that show was a bit of a miss.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it has so much moments too. But even like the beginnings of WandaVision, those shows are great. Like
oh my God, WandaVision! That was a cultural moment.
And that's the thing too,
especially in COVID.
Yeah, no, and I feel like for sure, and I feel like even with like the future of Doctor Strange is that the Multiverse of Madness. That was one thing that we felt like Doctor Strange was gonna be a key character. And I don't know where he stands right now. That's where we're gonna see who actually is going to be in part of Doomsday. Are we going to see Doctor Strange? There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of rumors, and leading up to like Doomsday, we've been seeing a lot of stuff. Like clearly the movie just wrapped filming.
Yep.
We've seen Easter eggs and stuff that it looks like we're getting some of the OG X-Men people back, kind of like a feel like they did with the Multiverse of Madness.
Isn't that a big deal?
Yeah, it is a big deal.
If I may, with Doomsday, I love the idea of celebrating the actors while they're still with us.
Right.
Certainly Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen. Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
I'm very much here for giving them their flowers while they're here with us. Let's celebrate not only them, but celebrate what really that universe and that storytelling gave us.
Right.
There is no MCU without the X-Men films. I will also say, it does feel like we're retreading old territory, trying to still hold on to things that people used to love,
Right.
a form of nostalgia.
Right.
And part of this too is contractually they haven't been able to change out the actors and the characters anyway. That's
Right.
part of the old Fox
Yeah.
contracts. That's not as well known. So like there are legal reasons for why they can't shift people out. Now I also think those contracts have expired since, so I don't think we have to hold on to those same.
Right. It's like a Hugh Jackman, like, you know, a lot of people have been asking for a new Wolverine, but it's like, can we get a new Wolverine? Like, you know what I
Can
mean?
the
Like,
audience accept a new Wolverine?
you know, and
That's really hard.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, there's already rumors of like them working on the new MCU X-Men. There's already rumors about the future of the mutant saga. Like, you know, there's a lot of things. You know, I don't believe everything that I see out there, but I see that this is what we're leaning towards. You know, the mutant saga, and even like future Young Avengers. It may be like Miles Morales getting put in the picture. There's a lot of room for that. You know, I feel
Well,
like
the thing with the Young Avengers is you've got Young Avengers right now, and they're all getting older.
yeah, for sure.
Haley Steinfeld is our age.
Yeah,
She's not going to be a young Avenger forever. She's
Right.
going to be a mature Kate Bishop, and that's
Yeah.
one example. Like
Exactly.
you have, and I know there was ideas of toying with Young Avengers. You could certainly see that at the end of the Marvels and stuff. Which you know, I'm here for a Young Avengers story. It would be nice to pursue that while they're still young.
exactly. And that's the thing too. When they make that room for new characters and new actors and building people from the bottom, you know, that's what it's gonna work eventually. But once they find what is it that they're gonna do next after the mutant saga and this whole Doomsday and Secret Wars, because Secret Wars, man, is, you know, by the comics. Like, now I'm getting into comics the last couple of years. I'm not gonna say I'm super knowledgeable with comics, but yes, I do
It's
my
expensive to
research.
keep up.
And it's just like, you know, doing your research and really seeing, like, you know, and a lot of these people nitpick, like, okay, this was in the comics, this wasn't in the comics. We didn't get X-Men in the Infinity War or Endgame. You know,
No,
like, we
and-
knew
and the
Fantastic Four
the
were
stories were
Infinity
great.
War. Yeah, and they were great, you know, even without them. But, you know, even with, like, the future of, like, DC, like, I want to hear your thoughts. Like, you know, we knew Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was, I think, probably my favorite one out of the series. I think
Yeah.
James Gunn, you know, really nailed it with part 3, and just, like, it was a very bittersweet moment to, like, the ending of the Guardians and, like, what holds for their future, but also, like, the departure of, like, James Gunn now going into the DC stuff. Like, I wanted to see your take on, like, you know, the Suicide Squad version of the James Gunn's version. Also, like, Superman, you know, one of the highest, most popular movies of the year, bringing in a new Superman, giving us a really fun, colorful, just an exciting movie after all these years of, like, dark, you know, Superman stories.
Which I will say, again, we're this pilot episode, we're playing catch up on all the things we haven't been able to talk about before. Let me give a moment to just defend the Snyderverse and say that I was okay with the unofficially titled DCEU, the DC Extended Universe. I was okay with the darker approach as a contrast to what Marvel was doing, because I firmly believe that if DC was actually carbon copying Marvel and what they were doing, semi like what DC is doing now, where it's vibrant, it's colorful, there's humor and all these things, I have to believe that people would have just crapped on DC for calling it a copy of what Marvel's doing.
Right.
And so I think the timing was just against DC in general.
Right.
So I didn't mind what Snyder was doing. And I didn't mind the darker approach to all the characters because I thought it was interesting and compelling enough. Knowing what I know now about what the roadmap was for the Snyderverse, I would not have wanted 3 Justice League films at 2.5 hours each, all centered around Darkseid. That is not something I would have signed up for.
Right.
Understanding that part of the trilogy now. And that's not even including Man of Steel and Batman v Superman in that. Those are separate things. I'm talking 3 individual Justice League films all around Darkseid.
Yeah.
If that was the plan, no thank you. I will take what we're getting now with James Gunn.
Oh, yeah.
I love the vibrancy. I love the color. I love the humors. I do like that it is a bit more reminiscent of the old DC animated universe,
Right.
where things are exciting and colorful, and characters enjoy, you know, they can appreciate dialogue with one another in funny and compelling ways.
I agree, and I feel like, you know, we don't want origin stories no more. You know, I think we want just, like, good movies, good shows. We want.
I have to see Superman's world blown up one more time.
Right. Like, people just want
Batman's parents getting shot down.
You know what I mean? Like we know.
Sorry, Clark.
No, you're good. Like we know like Supergirl's on the way. We know that Clayface is on the way. You know, there's a certain projects that James Gunn has his feet in that, you know, I'm just excited for, because I think Superman
you hit on
is good.
Supergirl. I am very curious. Like, okay, so you're asking me like my thoughts on DC
for sure,
and stuff.
of course.
I knew Superman was going to be a hit.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
knew James Gunn was going to understand the character, not just the character, but understand the cinematic importance of Superman. It is very tough to justify a superhero movie landscape without Superman in the mix.
Of course.
And the general public didn't care for Superman for a long time because of the work that Zack Snyder was doing, unfortunately. So I knew that was going to be a hit with people, even if not financially as much. It crossed like I think it made like $500 million at the box office.
Yeah, it made like $500-600 million. I think Demon Slayer
Which
just
is still
surpassed
good.
them, which is crazy. But you know, yeah.
But people aren't as inclined to go to the movie theater when they can watch at home. That's a separate topic. We can cover that in a different point.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to talk about that.
But so I knew Superman was going to work. I have been more curious about Supergirl. Like it's like when an artist puts out their debut album and stuff. Like, this is cool. What's your second release?
Yeah.
Because second release for Michael was Thriller as a solo artist away from Motown.
Right.
To be clear, not that Supergirl is going to be Thriller level, but what are you going to do to change up? If Supergirl is your second film in this, how are you changing it up from Superman? And from the moment that Superman came out, like the week after, they started putting out the promotions for Supergirl where we are turning Superman on its head.
Yeah.
This is Superman, not Superman gone bad, but like Superman with a wild child side. So already I'm in for Supergirl because they are James Gunn and the rest of the team are telling you this is tonally different than the previous thing. So I am very excited for Supergirl in that way. I knew Superman would be good. That's why I wasn't as excited for it.
Oh,
I want to see what else they do.
And I feel like there's such, like, James Gunn is such, like, a brilliant person, because I feel like right now, there's a lot of attention on him. Right now with I want to say decline of the Marvel Studios universe, but I also feel like right now there's the ball's in his court. I feel that he's clearly working on a Batman, even though we know that there is another Matt Reeves universe Batman, and part 1 was amazing, and we know that there's a extreme amount of anticipation. I don't even know if like the anticipation for Batman 2 from Matt Reeves is as anticipated as The Dark Knight, because I remember that time like 08, 09, I think that's when the movie dropped. But when The Dark Knight was the rollout, the marketing, I think it was amazing.
Well, the story, the posthumous storytelling, with Heath Ledger, there was so much working in its favor. And also, too, it was such a young era for superhero movie making.
Right.
Like this was only the second technically the third, you know what I mean? But it was still so early in superhero movie making where the idea of a new Batman was exciting. Since Christian Bale, we've had a Ben Affleck and we've had Robert Pattinson. So now the character of Batman is almost that of James Bond, where it is a cinematic rotating role.
Right, of course.
In the same way that,
that's how
Superman
it is. And
now,
even with like Ben Affleck was a great Bruce Wayne. I think he was probably the best Bruce Wayne, in my opinion, in these last couple of years. I think he was great. But as Batman,
I loved Ben Affleck. Right, we're talking Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. As Batman, he was good, but I think like his demeanor, his body, his shape of his face, like I think he was a really great Bruce Wayne.
He is my favorite Bruce Wayne Batman combo.
Yeah.
Where I think it's the evening out, and quite frankly, his Bruce Wayne plays a bit more like Batman, to be honest. But I really like the approach.
For sure.
That he brought to it. I was sad. Okay, you're talking about the Matt Reeves Batman universe. I liked Batman Part 1, the Matt Reeves film with Robert Pattinson.
How much have you watched it?
I haven't seen it.
I've seen it twice. I've seen it like
I haven't seen it since
this time
the
last
theater.
year. I watched it again.
I haven't seen it since the movie theater.
Yeah.
It was good for what it was. For me, I came in with a bit of bad blood into that film because I really was excited for the Ben Affleck solo Batman film.
I know.
Directed by him, starring him, featuring a whole bunch of other villains with Ben Affleck's Batman trying to break out of Arkham because he's trapped in there, kind of like the video games. I wanted that film so badly.
That's what the movie was supposed to be based off Arkham. Because I think
To some degree, certainly taking inspiration.
I think I seen James Gunn talk about that recently, that they didn't get to pursue the Arkham like story like they wanted to, or just more or less like just they wanted to put that in live action.
And I really want to see. I want to see a Batman who has fought with the Justice League, who has seen a thing or two outside of planet Earth, and I want him to take that experience back to Gotham and fight these villains with that.
Right.
A seasoned Batman. To scrap that film for the Matt Reeves film, I felt wasn't as necessary. I would have been happier with one product more than the other. Right. That's the only thing. So, and if Matt Reeves' Batman film lived on its own without any of that history, then it'd be fine for me.
Yeah.
But I know we only got that film because this film fell through, because Ben Affleck kind of had a couple of flops on his end, and also there was all the Warner Brothers behind the scenes drama too that was happening. That was just
even the writer's strike too. That caused a lot.
That was making
honestly, the writer's strike was definitely a lot of things were put on hiatus, and I could imagine shelf product, like even like the Trans Aries, like that was supposed to be a shelf movie too. Ended up coming out, and I don't know how it's doing.
God, what a mess.
I'm hearing mixed reviews, but hey, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, I don't know if I'll probably wait till streaming, or I don't know if I'll sit down the movie to watch it.
Should Jared Leto be its own separate topic?
Yeah, I think the love-hate with him, man, is crazy, bro, because it's like people love him, people hate him, like he walked into a theater the other day, surprised, and there was barely nobody in the theater. It's pretty like, damn, like, nobody. And Tron's a thing where like people love, like this is old Disney, but they weren't able to execute it with this third film. And even when like Nine Inch Nails like curating the whole movie, like they thought they could bring people in. I don't know, people like Jared Leto like that as an actor.
No, they don't. And I think Hollywood is finally starting to get the clue on that.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, what could we do? Like, even with like James Gunn, like I feel like if they, this is that confusing part, but it's like he's gonna make it so both of these Batmans coexist, because I don't think like the second one's gonna be the last one. I think they'll maybe give us one more with Matt Reeves, and maybe that's it. Maybe he'll get tagged along to be like behind or under James Gunn.
Well,
he wants to do the Brave and the Bold. James Gunn, that's what he says.
Definitely.
That's what he wants to do.
My only wonder, I wonder, this may not be a trilogy. This may just be a two-parter. There may be so much emphasis and energy put into the second film that maybe they decide not to do a third one. I know the best things are in threes or whatever, but
that ending scene was crazy though. That end of Batman, the Batman was, that scene.
It was well done. It was an event. It was an extraordinary event.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do myself the favor of watching it again, which, funny enough, the only reason why I haven't really gone back to watch it is because I've been watching the Twilight films for the first time.
Yeah, bro. I haven't seen them in a long time.
I need that Robert Pattinson history.
No, they're good. They're good.
I still need to finish the last two films, and the last time I watched
the best ones, in my opinion.
The last time I watched like Eclipse, I think that was like 2 years ago now, so I just haven't gone around to it.
I remember, bro. I think with the high school, like middle school, like Team Edward, Team freaking Jacob. Like, bro, the girls love that.
Bro, that took over our high school.
Yo, bro.
Hey, we should mention that. We graduated high school together.
Yes, we did. 2013,
whoops.
baby. Yeah, I know, man. We made a song after so many years. We did the reunion. We got some. It's a lot of history, bro. So this is like just like everything aligning, and just us kind of like so much years later, be like, all right, we're here. Like we make music together. We put something out that was dope and shocked the world, and now we're just sitting down and just talking, bro. Just like really talking about just things that have happened.
You can stream Runnin' by Merrick Henry featuring Your Daddy Doe, produced by JC the God on all streaming platforms now. There are 2 music videos, 2 available for the song. By all means, check them out.
And I got a little cameo too.
Hey,
thanks to my brother. You know
actor.
what I mean? We made it possible. But another thing that we could maybe talk about. Let's talk about gaming. Let's talk about games in the last, let's say, 2 years that have caught your eye. Either games that you've been playing. Like,
the industry's been shaken up the last couple of years, too.
Things have definitely been
a lot of changeover.
Things have been shaking. I mean, we, like I said, well, somehow I know we'll chime back into like the Marvel games and stuff like that. But what are games that you've been playing the last year? What are new games? Maybe games that were old that you were playing that you're like, okay, I want to kind of play this again. Because I have a couple games that I've been playing, but also games that I'm replaying, either remastered versions or more or less just games that I want to play again. I don't know what you've been playing nowadays the last year or so.
All right. Well, so my gaming catalog has actually been pretty shitty, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Just because to have the time to sit down and play, that's my big thing. But when I finally did have time to sit down and play, like a long form story game, Spider-Man 2 was one that I was finally able to just drop everything for and just completely invest in. I know for a good amount of people, the game was a little mixed for whatever reason. They felt like it didn't do enough. I felt like it went above and beyond past the first game.
I think so too. That first mission was insane. Shout out to Insomniac Games. Seriously, they did an incredible game.
I was enthralled with it, especially knowing that we were getting Venom involved too. Rest in peace, Tony Todd. So I was just thrilled with the game.
Right.
Costume hunting. Anyone who knows me and my pop music knows that I love a good costume change. So of course I'm gonna go costume hunting in these games.
Yeah, honestly,
that was the game for me.
When they did the Miles Morales Puerto Rican flag costume, is that you guys really that hit a lot of people, especially the Puerto Rican community and people that know that Miles had Puerto Rican.
Good cultural representation.
That was cool, man.
Which is kind of a whitewashed answer, but it's just nice to see unique storytelling in these games that you really weren't getting in these kinds of games growing up.
And even like Harry Osborn being Venom, bro. What? Like, people were going crazy. Like, that was so dope to see, like, Harry Osborn be Venom, and you got to play a little bit of Venom. And they're saying that there's, like, a Venom.
There was so much hype on that game. I went to New York Comic Con the year that they were promoting that game, and God.
How was that? Did they have, like, a panel for it? Or
they probably had a panel for it. I didn't see it, but they just had an awesome display for it where you could, like, line up and take a picture with with Miles and Peter in costume. And behind, they had this display that was like an alleyway set up where you take a picture with the Spider-Man, but deep in the back of the alley was Venom's face sticking out of the shadows.
That's pretty sick.
So cool.
Yeah, no, they did
live presentations at Comic-Con.
That's the thing too, like, because I was reading into some things a couple months ago, like, because of the Wolverine leaks and stuff like that, early. I think that was
that's
kind of
the next one.
That was. I think that kind of like messed up the DLC plans for Spider-Man 2.
Definitely did.
Because there was like, we wanted to hit the Carnage ending. I think they could have still put
out the DLC. I never understood that argument of because of these leaks, we're not going to put it out. Like, I would still be interested.
People
in the
were
content.
still playing it. I feel it maybe budgeting wise, they didn't want to invest into the DLCs, but there was good DLCs for part 1. Like, I feel
it made the game's roster of characters feel more complete on that first game with the DLC. It did a good job of kind of rounding it out for me, where, like, I loved the story of the first game, but I felt like the villain catalog wasn't quite as big as it could have been. And then the DLC came out, and it's like, all right, we have 3 additional villain characters. Like, all right, this gives us a good number. So it felt more complete.
Because when I played Miles, because I got the PS5 like 2-3 years ago, I was kind of late on the boat. Mm-hmm. So
no, me too.
So when I first got it, I got the Miles game, and the short game, but it was fun. I was like, okay, cool, this is a good introduction to, like, bringing him into the game. Insomniac's story, was really good from part 1, but now we're bringing part 2. Part 2 comes out. Great story, great everything. I think it was just an overall good game, but if they cancel, that sucks, But I mean, what can you do? I mean, it's kind of like even with like GTA. GTA is coming out next year. They know that
is it
exactly?
Is it?
And that game, the minute that game drops to like everything else, there's gonna be an audience for, certain games. Like the Resident Evil Requiem coming out early February. You got GTA spring, and then you got Wolverine later in the fall, I think, for fall next year. So, we'll see what happens. Hopefully they don't push it back. My boy Steven thinks they're going to push it back. I don't know.
It's got to deliver with the way that these games need to deliver financially to justify the game's release now. It kind of better hit. A lot of the game industry, it feels like a lot of the game industry is waiting on pins and needles for how GTA 6 not only sells, but its price point, what's the longevity of the conversation on it. I think there's a lot of the industry riding on this.
Yeah, my guess is I think the game's gonna be at least $120. There's no way that game's just gonna
that would still be cheap considering the amount of production going into the game.
I know
$70 is freaking people out, but
yeah,
that's considering the DLC gets put out for these games. Like, you could make a case that every game should be at least $100.
Bro, Nintendo Switch 2 games are $70.
They are.
I went to Walmart the other day. I'm like, wait,
and the
$69.99.
And the problem is that these games, Nintendo's a little better with this, but other games they come out with that price tag, and these games aren't finished.
Right.
They feel there's glitches, there's patches that need to be done, there's constant ongoing things. Even for the last gen, for the Nintendo Switch, for the Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet, those games were patchy as hell.
Right.
They weren't running well. They run beautifully on the Switch too, but you shouldn't have to get the next gen console to play previous gen games and have those run.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now, of course, I understand, there's artistic ambitions with these games, but my PS5 has basically been my PS4 Pro.
Right.
Those are really the only games that I've run on it, and everything's just running better on the PS5 because the PS4 after a while sounded like a airplane taking off at the airport.
Yeah.
So you needed headphones just to hear the game because it was just the PS4 was just getting too overpowered.
Right. And the PS4 did me good too. I feel like Nintendo with the Switch saved them in a way where, like, the Mario universe, things like that. Those games, those certain Nintendo world games, those games like forever gonna be popular, And even with the Switch too, is like, we know the hype of Pokemon right now. Like, it's back. It's been back. It's really.
I don't think it gone anywhere.
It never went anywhere. It just, unfortunately, like with popularity of, like, people like to hustle and make money. The popularity of cards. It started with sports cards, and then went Pokemon cards, and it's been there now. I'm glad that a younger audience is getting to see Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like, Pokemon, the movie, which was the one with Mew and Mewtwo?
The first movie.
The first movie was I remember having that, like, VHS. And then there was, like, wasn't there, like, a second movie with the Unknowns?
That was Pokemon 3, yeah.
I remember that one too. Like, those movies, like, when I was a kid, bro, I loved them.
It is kind of, we were kind of this beginning stage to some degree of, like, pop culture fandom, our generation or millennial stuff, like when things were getting really franchised. Like, superhero comic books have been around forever, obviously, but, like, seeing this stuff on film, on television, seeing this stuff in video games, we kind of came up in this world.
Right.
Like us millennials and stuff, certainly you and I, just as friends. But it's been really cool to see how that translates to the next generation, really the next generation after that too. Right now, present day, because we're old boys, to some degree. But
exactly,
yeah, it's been cool. Other than that game, Spider-Man 2, really the only thing that I've been able to have the attention span to sit down for, not gonna lie, it's Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
It's corny as hell. I don't care. That is probably my actual hobby that I do outside of, like, the performing thing.
Yeah, that's cool. And
that's really
too.
all I can mentally make time for. I can play 3 or 4 games, and then I'm done. I get my fix, and I go back to work or whatever. But that's really my one game that I can pick up kind of at any moment, enjoy it
that never
without
died,
needing
bro.
to invest too
That
much
never
in it.
died, bro. And same thing with Magic, bro. There's such a big community for that too. Like, that's entertainment. I'm pretty sure they do, like, Magic games over there too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure they have, like, a day in the week. But right now, what I've been playing, honestly, I'm a big fan of Naughty Dog and what they do. Like, I love the Uncharted games, and I think what they do over there at Naughty Dog is amazing. I'm finishing up the last 2 remastered. Finishing that up. I've been playing it for months, but I'm playing Resident Evil Village too, because I ended up playing Part 4, the remaster, and that was, like, one of the best games of, like, I think last year, the year before. And I've been playing online stuff. I've been playing, like, the Call of Duties and Battlefield and stuff like that. But there's a couple games that for next year, like I said, the new Resident Evil. I like those games. I like horror games. I'm a big horror guy. So those are the games that I really like. So anything, something that's been catching my eye too was definitely I'm looking forward to playing. I want to play it, but I'm, like, iffy. Is I want to get into, like, Death Stranding. Because Hideo Kojima, I think he's pretty dope. I think he has another game coming out too.
God, there was so much media hype with.
Yeah, Hideo, he got a game coming out with Jordan Peele. That's like it's called OD. That's for the Xbox. That's gonna be, like, a extremely scary game. There was a game a couple years ago that the community and, like, of Silent Hill was pretty excited for. It's called PT. There was a demo that was in the PS4 for years. And that project was, I think, with Hideo Kojima, and it was with Guillermo del Toro, if I'm not mistaken. And that project ended up getting canceled. And basically what they're saying that this is kind of like PT Silent Hill, but it's, like, its own thing. And with Jordan Peele on board, and, just from that new trailer they just dropped a couple weeks ago, it's extremely creepy. When they bring in, like, actors, like I don't know the names of the actors, but kind of like what they did with the guy from the Walking Dead for Death Stranding.
Yep.
You know, them Hideo Kojima bringing in these people, it's kind of like, you know, it's good, and I feel like the graphics on it is gonna be really good, and you know that this is just the future gaming, where they're going. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty much how I'm seeing it with games. I like online stuff. I like my campaign games, but I also like my online stuff. I like, you know, shooters and stuff like that. It's cool. Just have fun, man.
Shooters have never been for me personally. I would like to play a little more Marvel Rivals because I do think it's very clean and very smooth.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm just, and that's not necessarily like a shooter, but like you know what I mean. That's
the zombies is out too. I think the Marvel Zombies got like a DLC or like a mode now.
Yep, they do. Yep, 'tis the season.
To the season, man. That show's a show that I gotta finish too.
Last thing before we wrap up this first episode, and we will be recording our next episode. No shame today. We're doing that right now after this. Since we talked about it off camera, and because it's the season for it, Marvel Zombies, the most recent Marvel thing that came out. I know you haven't finished it yet, and that's fine.
I'm like 3 episodes.
What are your thoughts on the feelings?
I think it's dope. I honestly like seen one trailer. I didn't think it was gonna be the same feel as What If. I liked What If a lot. Enjoyed it, especially the first season. When we did see, was it season 1 that they had a Marvel Zombies episode?
Yep.
I'm glad that they took that and started a whole new story with that, because I think there's a big community for Marvel Zombies, and they actually like, okay, let's do this series. And the way it's looking, and people are loving it. And I seen some clips that I didn't get to see. That I seen of some superheroes in zombie mode, and I think it was super dope. I think their story is pretty cool too. Like, other than the animation, I think the story is good. The route they're going with it is good. So, hey, give us what we want. You know, it wasn't like Star Wars Visions. Star Wars Visions was, the first season was good. The second season was kind of but I think the route they're going with zombies was cool. So, what do you think about it?
I saw it on the flight back from Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
we can get into more of that in the next bit. I watched it on the flight back, and there were a couple of moments where I'm watching that. I'm going like, should I be watching this with people next to me? Luckily, they're sleeping, but I hope I don't do a jump scare.
Right.
No, I was just very entertained. It would be really cool if the MCU could continue to make unique storytelling like this with not just their characters, but their actors in these roles. Because you have Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop back. You have Iman Vellani back as Ms. Marvel. And you have, oh my gosh, this is so disrespectful. I cannot remember the actress's name who played Ironheart. Dominique Thorne.
Okay.
I got it, okay. So they came back, these same actors and stuff, which is a really cool indication that, you know, Marvel still does believe in the actors for these roles. Just make a Young Avengers project. But it would be cool if they did more storytelling with these same actors in these same roles, just in different universes.
Right.
Like these other what if stories, if you will. Not just on the animated level, but also like, you know, some live action things, you know, like it would be pretty cool to have that kind of distinction.
I agree.
I think I was very pleased with what they did for Marvel Zombies. I would love more.
Right.
That is my note on that.
No,
I would love more, please.
And I think that's what that they're gonna give the people. You know, I think right now there kind of is a huge hiatus with like the live action stuff. I think the only thing they will get next year, I think, is like the Punisher special and then the season 2 of Born Again of Daredevil. But that's pretty much it. You know, that's cool that they're kind of keeping it with the city level superheroes for the live action stuff, because it's more attainable. And now that we know that we're gonna get Punisher and Spider-Man, it's kind of like, okay,
I'm here for the cityscape heroes. Yeah. I'm very fascinated by that universe of storytelling, especially if we include more Marvel street heroes, like say from the Netflix stories. That'd be great. I am so excited for Vision Quest.
Yeah, that's gonna be dope too. That's next year, right? I think I've seen that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm interested to know what the story is gonna be, because I know I've seen the trailer of Wonder Man.
Wonder Man I am very fascinated by for multiple different things, and I think we can touch on that in the next one. But I'll just wrap up with Vision Quest and just say that not only am I excited for Paul Bettany continuing his character from
he's great, man.
WandaVision and stuff, we're continuing stories from both WandaVision and Agatha all along, which those are great. I am really excited to see James Spader come back as Ultron.
Yeah.
Who I thought was a highlight in Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron was so sick. I just watched it like a couple weeks ago.
It's not the best Marvel film.
Nah, bro. That movie was so good.
But you're going to tell me that you're going to change the channel on Age of Ultron if you got nothing else to do on a Saturday afternoon? Yeah, I'm going to watch this other big superhero crossover film.
No, for sure, bro. Age of Ultron was great. I think it was no strings attached on me, bro. I think it was great. I think the movie was good for what it was at the time. It was like, I think it was good.
And it's still so much fun. It's
It is
still
mad fun,
so
man.
fun.
That minute that scene that Cap, slightly moved the hammer and Thor's face, just like.
And then the payoff of that,
And leading into Endgame
and all that time, and that's why Endgame is the greatest film of all time, because it paid off every other film, even films that weren't great. It made them.
If you guys
worthwhile.
weren't there for these epic and iconic, scenes, like I remember, I'll see like TikToks of like, Marvel scenes like recorded like
just the audience reactions.
Yeah, the audience reactions, bro. Honestly, like sometimes I'll get the chills, bro, because I'll never forget.
That's ASMR, man.
Bro, it really is ASMR, and it's just like, I'll still get the chills, dude. Like even like if I'll sit down and watch like Endgame again, like when everybody comes back, bro, like it's just a feeling, bro. That triumphant music and just like that feel of like everybody's back. It's like, I don't know, it's gonna be hard to top that with Secret Wars, man. But hey, we'll see.
It got to. Do you want to take us out on this pilot episode?
Let's take it out,
JC?
man. I think we just kind of summed up a little bit of what we love, and just kind of like, there's more things we could get into, but I think this is just for now. We'll be shooting the next episode after this. And we have a couple episodes on the way that are going to be very interesting. So we just want to say thank you to the Coffee Network, Merrick, you guys Canvas, everything that we got going on. And yeah, this is the Fan Fusion Podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Last minute shout out to Derek Craig on the producing side for today's podcast.
Appreciate you.
We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Peace.